tonight we have a special guest who, in my opinion, is what I need the most in my life because I consider myself to be very financially illiterate. I'm a lawyer, and there's a reason I became a lawyer. I look at numbers and I go dizzy. So we have Siddhart Kothari, who is a vegan investor and a promoter at Kothari Group, and also the co-partner at Ahimsa VC. So why Ahimsa? That's a very ethical term, I guess, in Sanskrit, right?
That's right. So thank you so much for having me, Hansika, and it's great to be on the podcast. Ahimsa VC is India's first fund to invest in substitutes to animal products. So that's plant-based meat, plant-based dairy, and even plant-based materials, substituting leather. So basically, the reason funds of this sector exist in a number of countries all over the world, Singapore, Europe, in North America. In India, we really needed to push this sector a lot because it has massive impact. There's the potential of making alpha returns, obviously, because India's a growing economy, meat consumption is on the rise, people's purchasing power is increasing, but also the animal agriculture industry is really harmful to the environment, human health, and of course for animal cruelty. So a bunch of us got together and said, hey, there's so much potential to create both returns and impact. Let's launch Ahimsa VC.
And you're vegan. So did that impact your decision at all, and your friends?
Definitely. So we're all mission aligned vegans. I went vegan. I grew up vegetarian. I went vegan in 2010 in my first year of college. And initially, because I saw videos and even live slaughter actually, and of how dairy cows are treated, and it was all really ugly. So I went vegan since then, and it's been amazing to see the trend. It's not even a trend is something that's short term. This is really a mainstream movement, and I've noticed how earlier here in India, where if you go to a cafe earlier, maybe like 7 years ago, if I got soy milk at a cafe, I was like ecstatic. I was thank you 3 times. I would thank them profusely. Now, if I don't have options of coconut milk, rice milk, almond milk, and soy milk, I'm upset. I'm like, what is this place? What is this, the 90s?
You know something funny? So when I was vegan for a year, and I'm afraid I'm not anymore because I just could not keep up with those, okay, I'll tell you the story. I was the worst guest at people's homes because I would go there and be like, okay, they'd offer me coffee or tea, and then I'd just be like, yeah, which milk are you using? And then they'd be like, yeah, regular milk, why? And then I'd just be like, well, do you have soy milk, almond milk? And then they'd just be like, no, but we can order. And then I would feel so guilty, like, okay, I don't want to be that person who's...
Yeah. I can relate, and so many of us can, who want to make more sustainable and ethical decisions. But it's kind of like how, how the car industry is changing. You want to invest your money and consume products that are better for your body, better for the environment, and more ethical and less cruel. So I think more and more people are waking up to that. And now, like I said, there is almost every single fridge, in people's homes or grocery stores will have vegan options.
But upper middle class and
so it's going to take time. It's going to take some time. So earlier, back in the 90s and even early 2000s, we didn't have multiplexes available everywhere. There used to be single screen cinemas. But in the US, people went, the owner of PVR, Mr. Bijli, went there, he saw the movie watching experience, and he brought that culture to India, and now it's tough to find single screens here. But in tier 2 cities and in the middle class India and low middle class India, they still don't afford multiplexes. But over time, now cities like Kota, Jaipur, tier 2, tier 3 cities, there's going to get there. So they're later to adapt, and the metros, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, they get there first.
The money to actually buy that all the time, right? Like, look at the price of one packet of milk that a regular Indian would consume on a daily basis, and then look at a pack of soy milk or almond milk even.
That's true. So that's one of the big issues the vegan industry is facing today is price parity. And especially in countries like India, which are so price sensitive, why will someone pay 2 times or 3 times the amount when they can get dairy that's subsidized and cheaper? So at scale, economies of scale will play out, and eventually, whether it takes 5, 7, 10, or maybe even 15 years, the substitute products will get there. And if they don't, that's going to be terrible news for us, because there are 3 reasons why veganism should be the future according to us. Is one, for human health, and there are documentaries like Game Changers and What the Health and Forks Over Knives to show you the benefits of a vegan diet. Meat is actually accepted as a carcinogen now, even by the meat industry. And number 2 is for the animals. Now everyone doesn't need to care about the animals. But number 3 is the big one, the planet, because we all share that, we all live here, and people think that global warming and climate change is going to affect maybe our kids or our grandkids. That's not true. Within our lifespans, our age group, we will see major effects. We still are already with extreme weather conditions, the ice caps melting, and animal agriculture is actually the largest cause of other issues like deforestation. 40% of Earth's land mass is used for animal grain, so it's very wasteful, and the amount of water consumed. So it's really, if you want a planet to live, there's no planet B, not until maybe Elon Musk gets us there, of course, to Mars maybe, but who knows when that's going to happen. We need to really make better decisions and invest in, people drive EVs, for example, they want to make an impact, but all of transportation is maybe 15 to 16% of emissions, and food, animal agriculture is actually more than 23, 24%. So you'll actually make more of an impact. Instead of buying that EV, buy a vegan burger, and it's going to have more of an impact.
Investors are leading the way forward, or is it somebody else as well, or like these activists who we see on social media? Because I don't think actually it'll be really difficult for me to convince my parents or my grandparents to like adopt a vegan lifestyle now. And I feel like a lot of people our age would relate with this, because we're kind of like, we seem a little bit like
True.
crazy.
So the mission aligned vegans, like, you went vegan for a while, I'm vegan right now. It's too niche a population, and they're not going to create change at scale. What's going to cause change at scale is when non-vegans who are making purchasing decisions buys that vegan product not because they care for the animals or even the environment, but because it tastes better, it's at a competitive price, and they love it. And you can see examples of like that, of those kind of products in the West. Oatly is a massive success because it tastes delicious and it's available, distribution is there. So like you said, investors and funds like ours, Ahimsa VC, they will play an important part in that, because we'll enable entrepreneurs, empower them by capital, resources, and our knowledge share to really be available everywhere, create delicious tasting products, and of course be at a price that's competitive eventually.
So how do you choose the companies you invest in?
So we want, to put it very casually, there are really three major things. We want a kick-ass team with a smart-ass team with a kick-ass product in a big-ass market.
Oh, wow. Very well put. And other people, how do you convince them to invest in these companies? But there must be like some risks associated, right?
There's actually a lot of investor interest. We launched the fund just a couple of months ago, and we're probably going to be oversubscribed very soon already.
Oh, wow.
Because people know that this is the future. Because
is it just metropolitan cities, or like?
A lot of our investors are from the metropolitan cities, so that's where most of the money is. But even from tier 2 cities, like there's a large investor, very well known actually, a billionaire from the Haldiram's family office. They're super keen and they love this space, and they're masters of their craft, right? They're masters in the F&B business, and they know this is the future. In fact, they already have vegan ice creams in a lot of their stores.
I love Noto. I'm buying a lot of that.
Nice, yeah. Well, Noto has been successful. Noto is actually not the best tasting one. We've done a lot of taste tests, and Nomu, which is a competitor based out of Bombay, we're looking at them very seriously.
Is that why you're promoting?
They're better. But you talked about Noto, and that's the name I get in most places because it is more available. Distribution is so important. It's not just about
That's
taste.
exactly why. Like I just go on Swiggy, and if I'm like having a midnight craving, I'll just be like, okay, let me just get it in like 20 minutes.
So the Noto team has done a great job of keeping price parity with dairy, and also being available on places like Swiggy and easily accessible places.
So how do you convince people to go vegan in India, where we're such big meat lovers and butter chicken lovers?
Right. So meat consumption actually is growing a lot, and India's the most vegetarian country in the world, where 30% of the population is vegetarian.
I mean, the Punjabi culture.
Right, I guess. So despite that, it's meat consumption is increasing because more and more people, incomes are growing, and people want to invest in meat protein. So the way to do it is really not taking meat away from them. If you tell someone who eats chicken or beef, then they love their chicken. You're not going to, Punjabi culture you mentioned, right? Butter chicken, it's like so part of the culture.
Yeah.
They're never going to stop eating butter chicken.
And
the problem...
a vegan replacement to that?
Exactly. Here's the thing. I'm never going to tell them eat avocado. I'm never going to tell them, try this soy tikki, because that's not going to work. What I'm going to tell them is, hey, check out this chicken. It's like called plant-based chicken.
Right?
That's the magic. They'll taste exactly like the same thing. It'll come from plants. It'll be low in cholesterol. It'll be healthier. And as long as eventually it gets priced similarly, why would anyone not pick a healthier option that's better for the environment and for their body? Because when it comes to, I know we'll be talking about finance soon. When it comes to two things, you can have your interests, but there are two things. It doesn't matter if you're not interested in them because they're interested in you. It's your personal finance and your health.
Coming to personal finance, as I said, I'm really, really financially illiterate. And I think I can speak for some of my friends as well, who, we come from semi-privileged backgrounds where we did not have to really care about, okay, this is the amount of money that we have in our banks and like, this is how we're supposed to go, the budget. And honestly, we don't really like earn that much at this age, but when is the right age to like start thinking about personal finance and how to go about that when you're, pursuing your passion?
So I think it's amazing. It's like you said, it's great to pursue your passion, and that's what you should try and create an income out of, and that's what you'll do the best in. But every single person should be investing in equities, should be investing in stocks, because in India especially, because we're a growing economy. And think about how much money you buy clothes which is from a public listed company. You give them so much money. You should be gaining from their growth. So you should invest in their stocks too. And you don't have to, if you don't have the time, say you're a lawyer, you spend time in your practice, you don't have time to research stocks. You can buy mutual funds. You can invest in a PMS. You can buy, there are really good options out there now. And because of the internet, investor education has become really easy.
Has it though? I know a few friends who've made blunders.
Right. So you're right, actually. It's a double-edged sword because it can go the other way with too much information and not the most trusted sources out there too.
Who are the trusted sources?
So here's, I think, the safest people to start a Demat account with is Zerodha. Zerodha is known to be they've taken the industry by storm. Almost every other account is a Zerodha account. And if you follow the Kamath brothers on Twitter, they do a lot of positive investor education. But you're really you asked me when is the best time to invest, to take your personal finance seriously. The best time to invest in Indian equities was yesterday, but the second best time was today. So you don't need to feel FOMO that you've missed out.
Okay, that's actually, did you rehearse that?
It's a popular quote, actually. I can't take credit for it.
Tell me more then. Where do you think late 20-year-olds struggle? Where do you think they struggle? And people who've accumulated a certain amount of wealth in their lives, what is the second best place to invest?
So I think if you're in a financially comfortable situation and you have FU money, so the concept of FU money, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
What is the
I don't know if you can swear on this podcast, but fuck you money, basically. So FU money or fuck you money is basically when you have made enough money where you can say fuck you to anyone, and you can say it to your boss. You don't need, if you work a 9 to 5, you don't need to. You have options. That's when you're financially independent.
So like majority of South Delhi people.
Definitely. So if you live in South Delhi and you have FU money, there are a lot of people who don't and aspire to it, and that's a great aspiration, whether it's through entrepreneurship or whatever else. You find your path to fuck you money. And once you have that, you can see venture capital or startups as an asset class, go beyond just stocks. Of course, that's a lot riskier. That's why I only recommend it with your play money or your FU money to play with once you're at that stage. Before that, stocks are a lot more safer and risk-free if you do it through the right mutual funds or index funds. Startups are more exciting, of course, because you can have 100 bagger and it can be a life-changing investment. You should diversify, make a basket bet, or give money to people like us at Ahimsa VC, where they're venture capital funds, and we'll invest in startups for you.
So do companies come to you and be like, okay, invest in us, and then sometimes you just laugh at their faces and be like, no, we're not?
Well, we get hundreds of decks every week, and some people shouldn't be entrepreneurs. If it's not in your DNA, if you don't have the passion and hustle for it, if you're thinking of it as a way to get rich quick because you've read Jeff Bezos' biography, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And some people are not born. Some people make great employees or early employees, or some people make great. You have to find what your DNA is. That's what's important.
So share some funny anecdote that you must have experienced.
So we have, there's been a lot of funny things that have happened but now what we've done is we screen for it. So if we know we won't do a meeting initially. If a deck interests us, we'll do a call first, and then that call can be wrapped up really quickly. But if you're in a meeting, you'll be stuck there for an hour. You want to respect someone's time. So we found ways to.
But okay, how would you say a startup fails?
So startup can fail for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is timing. So Flipkart wasn't the first company to do e-commerce in India, but they came at a time where smartphone penetration was growing, And they were very lucky in that regard. Of course, taking nothing away from this, intelligence of Sachin and Binny Bansal, they really created history and are the blue-eyed boys of the Indian startup ecosystem.
You're a blue-eyed boy.
I am. They're metaphorically the way.
Right
Yeah. So I'm literally a blue-eyed boy. I'm glad you didn't ask me if I'm wearing lenses. I get that a lot.
No, I could tell.
I'm glad.
Because,
Thank you.
I mean, I wear lenses sometimes, so I know the difference.
Okay, I'm glad, but that's right. But coming back to, I mean, even beyond, even one step before kind of making your fuck you money or investing in stocks and startups, if you don't have your health, nothing's worth it. And there's a good story that Warren Buffett says that if you were given an option that you could only have one car, you can only own one car. It can be your dream car, but it's the only car you'll own for the rest of your life. How will you treat it? How will you drive it? Will you be rough with it? What kind of fuel will you put in it? So similarly, your body is that one car you've given by God, right? You're going to have it for the rest of your life, and it's the only option you have. So you should really treat it with the love and respect as you would to your solo car.
Very aspirational.
And put
because we all have slip-ups.
healthy vegan fuel in it, which
Yeah.
is cruelty-free and good for you. So Naval Ravikant famously said that everyone has two lives. And the second one starts when you realize you only have one. So even though it's a cliche, I cannot turn up the volume enough on how your health is important.
And do you think through investing in your health and in other things, can you make fuck you money?
Yes, so if you're fit and healthy and your next goal should be financial freedom or to create fuck you money, you can do it. You can definitely do it through investing, even with a moderate income. The magic of compounding, and this is by far the most important kind of lesson to learn for anyone. And I can tell you about compounding.
I know nothing about it. So
Great.
You have to
Okay,
explain.
fantastic. I'm going to ask you, then I'm going to start with a hypothetical question. Or I'm going to ask you to, if you go to, when is your birthday?
17th February.
17th February. Okay, coming up. That's awesome. So February is your birthday month. Now, if you go to your parents, and you're a South Delhi girl, so you can ask them for this, is on Feb, you say, Mom, Dad, you guys have given me a lot. I'm going to ask you for one last thing. And if you do this for me, I don't need anything else in the world ever from you again.
Every year. Every year.
But this time you'll mean it, because if they deliver on this, you won't need anything from them or anyone else in the world again. You tell them, on February is my birthday month. On Feb 1st, give me 100 rupees.
Okay.
On Feb 2nd, give me 200. Third, 400. Keep doubling it every day.
This reminds me of my math classes.
But this is very simple. Stay with me 1 second. So if you keep doubling the amount, so on day one you have 100, 200, 300, 4th Feb is 800, 1600, and so on, just till the last day of Feb, right? So let's just round it up to 30 days, or the first day of March. Basically, in those 30 days, if he starts with 100 rupees and every day doubles it, the amount, and just keeps giving you 100, 200, 400, 800. I'm not going to ask you to guess the sum total, but will he say, and you tell him this is the last thing I want ever, and on the end of the 30 days, you don't need to give me anything else ever again. Would he say yes or no?
Probably yes, because it'll sound like a better deal.
Right.
Because I'm the kind of person who would ask for a very big amount.
Exactly. Perfect. So that, if you start with 100 rupees, double it every day, and he pays you for 30 days like that, what you don't think it's a big amount, and neither will he, and so he'll say yes to the deal. Now, if you want to get venture a guess as to what that figure would be roughly on the 30th day, what would be the rupee figure that he will have to pay you?
That's what I just said. Don't ask me.
Okay, would it be in the few thousands? Remember, we started with just 100 rupees on day one, 200, 400, 800. The first 5, 6 I can give you.
Thousands, yes.
So it'll be in the thousands, tens of thousands,
Tens of
lakhs,
thousands.
crores.
Really?
Will it go to
It
that?
won't be in lakhs.
Okay, I want you to grab onto your seat. I'm going to tell you the sum. And all the viewers and listeners out there,
You would know
hold on
how
to your seat.
stupid I am.
No, it's not you. Most people don't understand the power compounding. I remember when I was told this initially many years ago, I fell off my seat. Because the real figure, and everyone can test this. You're not going to believe it when I say it, but go back, run an Excel sheet, ask your accountant, and or just Google this exercise. It's a common thing. You will realize the magic and power of compounding.
Okay.
The figure. Are you ready, Hansika?
Go ahead.
It is on the 30th day, he will pay you 5,000 rupees, 5,000 crores.
What?
On the 30th day, he will have to give you 5,000 crores.
Lovely.
Isn't that incredible? So do this with your dad. I actually did do this with my dad, and he didn't believe me until I showed him the Excel, and he's like, "What is this sorcery?" But it's just compounding, and that's why you should invest in appreciating assets, in stocks that's compound wealth, and in the long run, you will see life-changing results.
This episode is going to be named FU Money Back.
I love the name. And I highly recommend everyone to go hustle out there, whether it's through your passion or through investing, definitely through investing.
And to reach out to you
Yes.
after that.
But of course, I want to give a disclaimer. This is not overnight wealth, and you have to invest really for the long term. Jeff Bezos famously said that people really kind of underpredict what they can do in the short term, and they really downplay what they can achieve in the long term. So that's why long-term, second-level thinking is so important.
In all aspects of life, right?
In all aspects of life.
Because
Because compounding plays out not just with numbers, but also relationships, right? Whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's your brother, whether it's your sibling or father, you want to, over years, your level of bonding and depth of relationship compounds to a great extent.
So I've always, I've never really viewed money as a very important thing, because I think I just did not have that dearth. Like, I did not have to work so hard. I was always very dependent on my parents. But I mean, my relationship with money hasn't always been this good. Like, it just comes to me and then I spend it, and I'm very careless like that. But how would you say a person's ideal, like what's the ideal relationship one person should have with money?
Right. That's a great question, because people treat money so differently. Some people are reckless with it. Some people like to spend on others. Some people only spend on themselves. I'm a big proponent of getting to financial independence. You know, people like you and me and this part of the world are very privileged. 80% or more of India is under the poverty line, and we grew up with a lot of privilege and money, and we really, should be thankful for that. But once you make your FU money, or once we're in a situation where you're comfortable financially, I think it's ridiculous to keep hounding yourself and greed isn't good at some point then. Because life is limited. So if you're not enjoying your money, all the excess money you make by the time you get to your deathbed is wasteful, right? Here's how I like to see money. So I think money is kind of like, if life is a road trip, money is the gas that you need, or it's the petrol for the car.
Definitely.
So you never want to run out of it, because you're in trouble then.
But you also don't want excess.
But it's also not the point of the road trip.
Yeah.
The point of the road trip is to enjoy yourself.
Definitely. I think that's how one should always look at it. And also, I'm glad that we accept and acknowledge the privilege that we have. And I'm sure that aspiration is good, but it shouldn't be the only motive of a person.
That's so true. So another great lesson on compounding is from the inventor of chess. So the legend has it that way back in time, the person who discovered chess or created the game went to the king, and the king got addicted to it, and so did the whole kingdom. And the king said, listen, I'm going to reward you with whatever you want. You name it, you've earned it, this is a brilliant game, and we all are going to be playing it for centuries. Name your price, I want to reward you. So that genius said, I just want one thing. Do you play chess, Hansika?
I used to, but not anymore.
Okay, so if you play chess, there are 64 squares on a chessboard, 8 into 8, right? 8 and 8. He said, give me 1 grain of rice for the first square, 2 grains of rice for the second square,
Okay.
4 grains of rice and keep doubling it till the 64th square.
Yeah.
And the king just burst out laughing. And the king said, you know what's coming now because of the... So the king said that, wow, this guy, I thought he was a genius. He's actually a fool. Here, I can give him gold. I can give him land. I can give him whatever he wants. And he's asking probably for a few bags of rice. He told his treasurer, give it to him, and walked off. And then his treasurer stopped him and he said, listen, please stop, come back. Because what he's asked for, by the 64th square, that is rice worth more than this entire universe can afford. That is rice worth billions and billions of dollars.
Who was this person?
So this is probably just a legend, just like an old tale.
Yeah.
But it just shows how the power of compounding, starting from a single grain of rice, or how we in the birthday example started with just 100 rupees, can compound over many periods, 64 in this case, 30 periods, 30 days in the other case. If it compounding at doubling every period, creates enormous numbers which our brain can't even fathom.
Wow, I should use that on a lot of people.
Yes, I will take 20% of all your earnings through this. I'm talking like a fund manager now. This
Yeah.
is when greed is bad, I guess. I need to listen to this podcast to tone it down myself, maybe.
No, you need to amp it up.
But money is addictive, you know. If we're going to be candid here, when you
Yeah.
start making money, and both of us have, because you know we're in the. I shouldn't give away age, should we? Why should I? Okay, let the audience guess how old we are. But we have started earning our own money, and I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like it's kind of like an addiction, even though I might not need more. I have a hunger for it. How do you feel?
I look at numbers and I go dizzy. As I said, I look at numbers and I just go like, please somebody else manage it for me because I feel scared. I don't know. I just want to do like my brain functions like
Right.
that. Like I'm more of a dreamer than an analytical person.
So would you say you're working for the passion of it, the fun of it, not just the money?
For my dad. Not for anyone.
I did not see that
As a
answer
joke, but
coming.
of
Yeah.
course, like if I have to sustain myself, then yes, it'll be a great asset to have. That okay, I'm an independent.
How do you think this relates to also? I feel like men's relationship with money
Very different.
so different to how most females and most girls look at money.
I guess
I feel like there's more pressure on a guy
feminism
going
has, and this is gonna sound like extremely triggering to a lot of people, but I view money as something. I guess it's just my childhood as well.
There have been gender roles like enforced on us from thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take a while for people to not associate making money and being like the hunter-gatherer or like the provider for the
Yeah.
man. And for women, the expectation of kind of beautifying yourself or
You know,
being
also,
marriageable.
I have also been an advocate of that because I do believe in evolution, but I also believe in feminism, and I believe that if a woman wants to be a homemaker now, there is no harm in that. Honestly, like some people, feminists of today, and I think that's very toxic because I feel like that is also a great job, and we do not give it enough due. Regard, because I mean most of the mothers in India are homemakers and we just treat them as second-class citizens, like your job isn't important.
Take it for
But
granted,
it is.
yeah. No,
It is. I
definitely.
mean, what is
You know
okay?
what? You know what sucks now? I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm a feminist too, and I really believe there should be no gender roles enforced in anyone. But if someone wants to choose to be a homemaker now because of kind of the woke community being like, no, you must earn.
Exactly.
Now, not only do females have the pressure of being the caretaker at home,
Exactly.
but also earning money as well and having a
Exactly.
career. So it's like double pressure now. And it should really come from within is the
That's
truth.
like another conversation that I could speak on for. That's a great topic.
I have your next podcast.
Next podcast.
I
Definitely.
am taking sweat equity in your podcast business. No, I know you're not monetizing this, but it's a great...
Other book recommendations, Siddhart.
Other book recommendations. One of my favorite authors, and this guy's a little deep, but he's really acclaimed. He's accused of being arrogant at times, but he's just so smart, I don't blame him. Nassim Taleb.
Okay.
His most famous book is called Black Swan,
Oh, okay.
which,
Black
yes,
Swan
the Black Swan.
phenomena,
Exactly,
yeah.
which is really famous and everyone knows the Black Swan genre. But because my first recommendation was Rich Dad Poor Dad, everyone's read, everyone's also read Black Swan, I'm gonna tell you about a very underappreciated book from him,
Okay.
which I feel like is better than Black Swan, which is incredible. It's called Anti-Fragile.
Okay.
And the concept of anti-fragility is brilliant because let me ask you something. If what is the opposite of the word fragile? You know, if you like glass is very fragile, it breaks easily, and
Strong.
exactly. So people would think of strong, people would say robust. The truth is that there is no real one word that describes anti-fragility because being strong and something fragile is something that that kind of gets destroyed with disorder, right?
Yeah.
So the opposite of that should be something that gains from disorder. Something that's strong, like steel, doesn't gain if you beat it or if you drop it. It stays the same. It's strong. It's resilient. So Nassim Taleb came up with the term anti-fragile, something that gains from disorder. And that concept is so powerful because, you know, we've heard of reptiles that will grow a second tail if you cut one out, right? And a stronger one that too. That reptile
be
is
me.
anti.
That must be me. Oh my god, I have so many incidents in my life
Right?
where I've like
So
grown and learned.
That because you're anti-fragile and people like you will succeed and get better because disorder is coming, right? Whether it's through a pandemic of COVID, whether it's a heartbreak, whether it's through a toxic relationship with a family member, you will face disorder at some level of your life, whether it's an injury. You need to be anti-fragile to gain from that disorder, to get better. Not just resilient, don't just be strong, actually get better. And that's why I love this book.
That's lovely. That's awesome. Wow. I'm actually deep in thought right now.
Yeah, it's a cool concept, right?
It is, it
Check out the
really
book,
is.
it's really nice. A finance joke. Okay, fine.
So Siddhart, please tell me something funny. Because I really I'm
Okay.
in dearth of jokes right now.
Okay, today's the days of Fs. We start with podcast going to be called FU Money.
FU money.
We've got a lot of finance with F, and now we want something funny with F.
Yes.
So let me tell you a joke, based on an economist. So there's an economist, there's also a mathematician, and there's a scientist.
Uh-huh.
So all three asked the same question. They're asked, what is 2 plus 2? And then the mathematician says, simple, here's are 2 marbles, these are 2 more marbles, you put them together, 4 marbles, 2 plus 2 is 4. The scientist comes up with 2 molecules of a chemical, 2 molecules of another chemical, makes 4 molecules of the final chemical. He also says 2 plus 2 is 4. This is what the economist, the finance professional, comes and says. He walks up close to you. He looks left and right. He closes the curtain and he says, ma'am, what do you want it to be? The joke here is that finance and economics, they're based on theories. They're based on it's more art than science. And the joke is on them that there's no real science, there's no real math. For the uninitiated out there in the viewership, for the younger Gen Z audience.
Oh my
I have to
God,
explain.
you said
You know
the grandmother of Gen Zs, right?
Since the podcast host is the grandmom of Gen Zs.
He said I was a grandmother of Gen Zs.
Well, I was telling her she's a millennial. She argued that she's Gen Z. I said, okay, you maybe just about make it to Gen Z, but then you're the grandmom of Gen Zs.
I was born when the Gen Z started. I was there when
I'm a
TikTok generation wasn't born.
That's true. So, I'm a dinosaur now because the best way to kill a joke is to explain it, and I did that. So you beat me anyways.
Sorry.
But hey, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's been so much fun, and I don't think I've met a lot of people who work in finance who can also talk so brilliantly.
Yeah. No, I'm glad, and I hope most people realize that finance is super fun. Accounting, which is a small itsy bitsy part of finance, can be boring. Finance is full of stories and a lot of great concepts. And
Money talks.
yes, and
Money talks.
like I said, you need it. You need it to do well on your road trip. The more the better. You can go in a Cadillac or you can go on a horse cart. So choose.
You choose wisely.
No, and
with your advice
go
and wisdom.
go vegan and leave the horse alone. Make money and afford the better
Well,
products.
thank you so much for coming, Siddhart. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you for having me, Hansika. I
Have a
really
good
enjoyed
night.
it. Good night.